Hello, I'm Eric Brook and welcome to this episode of ErgPod. This one's a little bit of a special episode of ErgPod and I'll explain why a little bit later. But I just wanted to say hi to the guy who just came over and had a chat from the pub across the road here in Newcastle, wondering what I was doing. I'm recording a whole heap of footage with my Insta360 on a 3 metre tall monopod. And he was wondering what I was doing, so he actually came over and asked and said hi and was wondering what I was doing. So I was quite happy to tell him what I was doing. His mate thought that it was just a big fishing rod, but old mate knew better and knew that it was a camera of some sort. So here I am. I'm walking down Hunter Street in Newcastle, and I've got my 360 here. So let me just pull my 360 into frame. There it is, there's my 360. And I've got it attached to a rather large monopod that telescopes. So when it's folded down, it's quite small, but when it's at full extension, it's 3 meters. So what that can do, it can give a drone type effect without actually needing to fly a drone. So you just stick it up, it's at full extension at the moment, and you just place it down on the ground somewhere and extend it the full 3 meters. It's above the height of the cars, for instance here on Hunter Street. And so it looks like that I'm flying. It's got that effect, especially if it's moving. It's got that effect like I'm flying a drone. But I'm not flying a drone. So what I'll do, I'll just set it down for about a minute or so and just record whatever the camera captures. And because it needs some sort of effort to erect the monopod and tighten all the bits that telescope into place, I'm just walking along the street with this massive big long rod sticking out of my left hand as I change from vantage point to vantage point without putting it down. So out of all the people that have gone past me, there's a car that just went for a red light. If I had had my camera on then, didn't even try to slow down. So I'm actually walking between the Civic Theatre and the main Newcastle post office at the moment. I was going to film some things at the old railway station, but the weather's nice out here at the moment, so I just thought that I'd record some images which I'll sprinkle through this episode. So what can happen as well is that I can lose my train of thought, and I do that a lot. But if I have the monopod standing on the ground, it's basically 3 meters from the ground to the camera lens. But if I put it on another object, like for instance a seat, I'll put it on a seat, and what that will do, that will give me an extra 0.5 meter to a meter of additional height, and so that will boost the height even further. This side of the road is pretty good because there's not a lot of awnings, etc. Just excuse the sun behind me for a minute. But now that I'm here at another spot, I'll stop recording because I need to record the Instagram. It's not Instagram, the Insta footage. Alright, I was just about to move on to my next location when I saw that there were two light rail vehicles about to pass in front of me. So I put the pole up, put the periscope up if you like, and captured them passing me. Interestingly, I noticed that one of the trams had been graffitied, which doesn't often happen here in Newcastle, but the funny thing about it is that they chose to do it over an advertising wrap, which I thought was rather strange. So I'm heading down from the Civic Theatre down to the Newcastle post office to collect some mail. I'm walking down the northern side of the street on the way to the post office, and then I'm going to walk back on the other side and capture some more footage, so the times will be slightly different between the time I walk there to the post office and walk back. Do I feel strange doing this? No, I'm pretty much used to it, having done it before. I'm actually not on Hunter Street anymore, I'm on Scott Street, but the light rail still runs down the middle of this street. Hunter Street now is about a block away. So I've arrived at my destination, so I'm about to check my mail, and then I'll walk back on the other side of Hunter Street. That's good timing for a light rail to come and arrive. So check the mail, walk back on the opposite side of Hunter Street and capture some different views. It's probably been about an hour or so now since I've started the walk, so the sun will be different, the point of views will be different, and there's a very special shop that I want to drop in and have a look at for a special little guy. Alright, so I've been to the post office, checked my mail. I've got about an hour or so of light to go before the sun sets for the afternoon. So I'm on my way back from the post office back to the Civic Theatre. I deleted some old projects off my memory card, so I've got about an hour's left of space on my memory card, which will do me until I get home and put them onto my hardware. Do have to consider the sun. The sun's swinging around towards the west, so it'll set, but I can handle that in post-production. City of Newcastle have been doing a lot of work in conjunction with private developers in this section of Newcastle to revitalise the former Hunter Street Mall area. What we're looking at now is one of the original stages where there's parking spots, where there's a road and there's also a cycle path in both directions. Eventually the whole of Hunter Street all the way back up towards the beach is going to look like this. It is a work in progress. A look at the Hunter Street Mall's a video for another time, but it's certainly an interesting place to walk down with a whole range of options at the moment. There are shops that are still there. There are shops that have been demolished, and there are shops that are empty awaiting demolition as various work and overland development takes place the length of Hunter Street, this section in East Newcastle. Even if they have rebuilt buildings, they've made an effort with this development to make the buildings look historic, even though they may have been rebuilt from the ground up. I'm back at the Lucky Hotel, which is where I first met old mate. I said to him that I'll come back, but unless he's inside somewhere, and I'm not about to take my big 3-foot pole into a pub and find out. Maybe he moved on to another pub, who knows, but yeah, I certainly do appreciate him coming up and having a chat and clearing up the mystery, because I know that I'd want to clear up a mystery like that. I know some of the tram drivers have been quite interested in having a look, trying to work out what I'm doing as they keep on going backwards and forwards between the beach and the interchange. I was just looking inside Newcastle's try that again. I was just looking inside Newcastle's easiest escape room because there's nothing in there to escape from. So just having a look here, the escape room and also the creative studio with lots of different photo booths and that sort of thing has been closed. So it looks like they're going to do some renovations in progress behind me, and according to an application that I saw on the window behind me, looks like it's going to become a karaoke bar if Newcastle City Council and also the state government agree to a change of use for liquor laws, etc. Hashtag not sponsored, but this is one of the places I wanted to go and check out. A new pet spa has opened. It's been really hard to find somewhere to get Bear groomed. Bear's my cat and he's my special little guy, but it's been really hard to find places for pet grooming. Lots of places for dogs, not necessarily a lot for cats, even basic things like clipping toenails, etc. I'd like to have him have a bath occasionally, but his nails are the big issue, so let's go inside and see what they can do for me. Hashtag not sponsored. So that's actually quite good. $20 just to get his nails clipped. And then if I want him to have a bath, like he doesn't smell or anything, but I just think it'd be nice just to pamper him for a bit and just sort of see how he's going underneath his hair. And they'll probably do a really good job of brushing him as well. So 20 for the nails and 60 for the wash. So that's 80 in total. So that's not too bad. So I'll give him a try in the next couple of weeks. And they've only just opened here in Newcastle, and the owners were just telling me that cat people don't have a lot of places to bring their cats to get groomed. So here we are. I've run out of battery on the Insta360. It does go through batteries a little bit. So I have a spare, but I wasn't going to do a change in the field for the sake of walking maybe a block until I got back to where I was going, back to the Civic Theatre. So I thought that I'd take this time just to wrap up the episode, and hope you have enjoyed it with all of the clips in between. It's certainly been an interesting experience doing it, that's for sure. It's the first time that I've used the camera in this sort of setting, like it's an ambulance behind me. It's the first time that I've used the camera in this urban setting, and I can see where it would certainly have some advantages compared to, for instance, getting drone shots, which would be impossible and illegal in this area. It does make me realise spatial awareness, and what that basically means is that if I've got my 3 foot tall monopod, which I might just call a periscope just for shits and giggles, I have to watch out for things like low hanging signs, awnings, other people. If I'm just walking in between locations, have to be mindful of that as well. But overall, it's been a pretty fun afternoon. It wasn't my original plan, but sometimes what I do instead of the original plan works out fine. So we're just walking up towards the Civic Theatre now. It's a really beautiful theatre inside, and it also has a smaller performance space as well. That's the Civic Theatre right behind me. There's certainly some interesting acts that I've seen in there recently. I wouldn't say recently now, but in the last year I've seen Belinda Carlisle and also Tommy Emmanuel in there as well. Various comedy shows that I've been to in the past. The last comedy show that I went to, just interestingly, was part of the Newcastle Comedy Festival that was held at the this one. There was some at the Civic Theatre, some at the Conservatorium of Music, which was an interesting choice for a comedy festival, but it all worked out rather well in the end. Just a reminder that coming up in September 2025 is the Sydney Fringe Festival, and I'll be supporting the Succulent Chinese musical. Links will be in the show notes, in the show description. And of course you can get links to everything that I do, including the Newcastle Sticker Collective and the shirt of the episode. The shirt of the episode there. It's added the shirt of the episode because it's the one that I've chosen to wear. It's one of my less traditional ones. It's basically a restaurant review rather than the traditional one that I've been doing. So it is just coming up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon now, so the sun will set sometime after 5. I could have done a battery change, but I didn't quite feel like it in the end, for the sake of just going another block and finishing up. At the time of recording this, we're in Wheeler Place, which is a popular spot for outside gatherings. For instance, if there's a sporting event or some other event, they'll actually put a big screen. They'll put a big screen somewhere in the theatre, and lots of people will gather in this open space just around the corner from the City Hall. The clock tower for the City Hall you can now see in the background. So one final thing, and I'll just walk to do this bit. One final thing is how versatile the shots that I've just recorded will be. I'm going to use them for this episode of ErkPod as something a little bit different. I'm also going to use them in a different way for a mountain of work. Use them in a slightly different way for a mountain of work. Mountain of work won't have me in it at all, as it normally doesn't. So I won't have any of the explanations, etc. But basically the same footage. Obviously, I haven't actually looked at the footage yet because I'm still out and about. But when I get home, I can just take the time to have a look at all the different angles that I've captured, and then do what I did for the train episode that I mentioned on the last episode of ErkPod, where I had something like 57 minutes of footage. That turned out to be 84 minutes of footage because of the different angles that I could use, etc. Another factor to keep in mind too is the various formats that you can use. It shows on the phone via the Insta360 app as 9:16. So in portrait mode, I prefer to use landscape mode for my videos. I'm not looking to create portrait style. Depending on what you're shooting, you might as well not shoot anything at all if you're going to shoot in portrait. If you're going to shoot video in portrait mode, of course there can be uses for it. Shooting in 9:16 is really popular on socials when the phone is the device of choice, where people will be primarily seeing it and primarily consuming it. But the places where people will be primarily consuming this content will be on a bigger screen. So I shoot in landscape 16:9, but I do have the option, at least if I want to shoot in 9:16 or 1:1 for that matter, I can do that too. So once I have the footage, I'll save all the raw footage onto my computer system, and then at another time, if I want to go back and revise what I've used and use a particular angle for something, I can just go back into it quite easily and do it. So just before I go, the succulent Chinese meal Newcastle Sticker Collective special offer is on as always. Use the promo code ERKPOD10 for 10% off your purchase price at checkout. Information is now on your screen. ERKPOD10 for 10% discount at checkout. Not just a shirt of the episode, but any of the merchandise that is available via ntlstickercollective.com.au/democracy manifest. I've been Eric Brook. Thanks very much for watching or listening if you're on audio. These episodes are available in podcast form and also on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta, farewell. I'm sorry I don't have my clapper board. I was going to bring it and then I forgot to. So thanks for watching. Ta-ta and farewell. Bye now from Newcastle. Well, I've had a very interesting hour or so in at Fighter World. Hope you enjoyed all the footage that I was able to capture from in there. Oh, how strong is this wind? Can't wait to get out of the wind and actually find out how, I won't call it a breeze, certainly blowing a gale at the moment, but I highly recommend if you're into aviation and you're passing the Newcastle Williamtown area and you're into your fighter jets, come in and have a look.